Hi, today we're going to continue to read Nancy Clancy, Late Breaking News. Chapter 2, Strange Turn of Events. Later, after Brie went home, Nancy found her parents at the kitchen table. They were trying to do work. It had to be hard with Jojo chasing French around and around with a lasso. Papers were strewn all over the tabletop, banks, statements, tax returns, and lots of bills, the kind of stuff that made being a grown-up seem to so great to Nancy. Voila! The last issue of the Gazette. Nancy presented her parents with the copy. They looked up and smiled. I wrote one of the articles, but they have to admit it's pretty boring. Great, sweetie. Can't wait to read it, her mother said in a distracted way. She went back to straight a bunch of numbers on the screen of her laptop while nibbling on a saltine cracker. Lately, Nancy's mom had a little appetite and seemed to live on saltine crackers every trip to the supermarket. She had stocked up on more. Jojo, honey, could you please chase Frenchie somewhere else? Nancy's mom said, sounding tired. Then she looked at her watch. Oops, almost dinner time. Dot, put in the carousel, okay? Nancy's dad stood and walked over to the fridge. Still focused on a sheet of paper he had been examining. Well, I suppose we could hold off trading in the car, he said, almost as if talking to himself, and maybe this summer we only stay awake at the cottage. Sacre bleu, Nancy said in French that means yapes. Did you just say what I think you said? Every July her family went 2 weeks at the beach in a rented house. It was the highlight of the Clancy summer. Why would her parents want to cut down the fun? Then it hit her. Wait a second, did we get proper? Are we in a finicky difficulty? No, absolutely not, scoots Honor. Her father raised his hand, and the boy scoots Saul. That wants to work from home, Nancy's mom explained. Suddenly, Jojo stopped whizzing around the table. Daddy, we'll stay home every day? She looked puzzled. Yes, that's the idea, he said. Goody! Jojo threw her arms around her father's legs. So we're figuring out if we can make ends meet. Nancy's dad went on. And it looks like we can. Ah, I see. Nancy stopped to mull over the brand new idea of stay-at-home dad. Never since she could remember, her dad had worked downtown for Castle accountants. They did tax returns for people. Sometimes they were on ad on TV. They always ended with a man in a crayon saying, tax time is never a hassle when you come into the castle. Daddy, the judge explained, it'll be so much fun. You can watch Go Girls all every day. The very first thing I thought of, Nancy Dad told Jojo. Then he turned to Nancy. I won't have to fight traffic every day. If I need to leave work early, I can because I'll need my own boss. And a blissful smile crossed her father's face. I can live in a t-shirt and sweater pants. Yeah, I think it's a superb idea, Nancy said. Go for it. She was glad for her dad. She wanted him to be happier, and she was even gladder to know her family wasn't financial difficulty. After finishing her homework, Nancy still had an hour before bedtime, an hour to read. She was in the middle of a Nancy Drew book, and nothing went better with a good mystery than a couple of cookies. Downstairs in the kitchen, as she opened the pantry door, Nancy happened to notice something on the floor. It was under the kitchen table. A lifter of some kind. Nancy picked it up. On the front were photos of houses, all of them brand new and bigger than the one Nancy lived in. Find the home of your dreams, it said, in big letters at the top at Crystal Lake Estates. You won't just be buying a house, you'll be joining a community. Puzzled Nancy turned the leaflet over and read more. Here at Crystal Lake Estates, your family will enjoy many amenities. There are photographs of a pool, a playground, and fitness club. Nancy had never heard the word amenities before, but she guessed it meant fancy extras like the pool. Suddenly Nancy felt goosebumps all over her, as if she had plunged into a pool of ice-cold water. Why did her parents have this leaflet? Was this the reason her parents were looking at how much money they had? Maybe they weren't only thinking about Dad working at home. Maybe her parents wanted to move. In a flash, Nancy dashed upstairs and stormed into her parents' room. They were reading in bed. I found this in the kitchen, Nancy waved. You don't want to move, do you? Her parents exchanged glances. It's something Mom and I have talked about a little bit, her father admitted. It's just a possibility, a remote possibility. Not all the houses at Crystal Lake are even built yet, so there's no need for you to start packing. Her father was trying to make a joke. Dad, this isn't funny. You mean moving is even as a maybe? Nancy felt herself sink down under bed. I wasn't supposed to see this leaflet, was I? Her parents avoided answering the question. If Dad is going to be home all the time, we need more space, her mom said. He needs his own office, and you would have a huge room with your own primitive bathroom. Wouldn't that be great? Her mother's smile scared Nancy. It was the big, responsible smile. The smile she used for coaxing children to doing something she didn't want to. No, I like it right here! When Nancy blinked. Wait, you have already been out to Crystal Lake Estates without Jojo and me? No, of course not, her dad said. Nancy folded her arms and convinced. Then, how do you know I would have such a big bedroom? Her dad turned to her mom. Why do I feel like we're under investigation? Then he said, no, Nancy. They mailed us for floor plans. Her dad reached for the laptop on the nightstand. Want to see? No, I don't! Nancy was particularly shouting. Sweetie, please don't get upset. Her mom leaned over to hug Nancy, but she pulled away. Nothing. I repeat, nothing is still, her dad said. Well, that's good because I think moving is an awful idea. No! It's worse than awful! It's horrendous! Nancy marched out of the room and into hers, which was far as she was conquered, was the perfect size. The Nancy Drew book was lying on her bed, but Nancy was too upset to read. How foolish she had been. Just this afternoon she had complained how there was ever any real news. Now there was or might be, and she didn't like it one bit. She had to let Brie know right away about this horrible development. Nancy whipped out a notepad and wrote, "Help! We may move," she wrote in Pig Latin. "Help! Hey! Way! May! Oh, May!" Lately, that was how they were keeping messages to each other secret. Nancy rang the bell to signal that her special delivery mail basket was on its way over to Brie. Nancy flopped on her bed and waited for an answer. It didn't take long. Nancy heard Bries Bell and rattled in the basket. Brie was standing by her window. She ran 2 fingers on her cheeks to show Nancy how sad she was. Brie's message said, "This is a big problem, but stay calm. Let me sleep on it." The next morning, Brie already had come with her had come up with a plan. On the way to school, she said, "Okay, so what if you let Jojo share your room? Then Jojo's room could be your father's office." A shudder ran through Nancy. Although it was small, Nancy's room was her domain, a place that was entirely hers. It was decorated exactly the way she liked, with everything exactly she wanted it to be. But we would need to get bunk beds. My bed would have to go. Nancy had made a canopy for it just out of a sheet, a mop, and a bedroom, and there would be Jojo's dumb stuff all over. Posters of Coke Girl Solid, Sidekick, Ramblin' Roy. Nancy shuddered again. They had reached school while they parked their bikes. Bries said, "It's not an ideal solution, I know that, but so far, it's all I have come up with. Last night I hardly slept. I kept thinking about you moving away." Brie bit her lower lip. "I couldn't stand it. What would you do without you next door?" Nancy and Brie clasped her hands. They didn't speak. There was no need to. They were both thinking the exact same thing. There couldn't be better best friends on the entire planet. "Dudes, you should be very proud of the last issue of the Gazette," Mr. Dunny told the class during social students. "I read it from cover to cover as soon as I got home." "How long did that take?" 5 minutes. Grace sat twiddling a pencil on her desk. "It's not like a real newspaper. It's only 4 pages." Mr. Dunny ignored the remark. His eyes traveled around the room. "So did any of the articles tell you something you hadn't known before?" Nancy's hand shot up. "So did Robert's?" "Okay, Robert, let's hear from you," Robert said. "I had no idea before I read the Gazette how our school got its name." That was exactly what Nancy was going to say. The story had been written by Lionel. Adam Drazel had been born in their town. It turned out that long ago, she had won an Olympic medal for beach volleyball. "I didn't even know that was an Olympic sport," Nancy added. At the beach she went to every summer, it seemed that teenage girls played volleyball most of show off in their blanks, Clara said. "Lionel, when I saw you wrote the article, part of me wondered if you made everything up." "You did you?" Lionel acted shocked. "Make it up? How could you think that?" "Because you're a big goofball," Clara giggled. "You're always pranking people." Lionel sold and blew through his lips. "I happen to be a serious journalist. I spent hours digging through all records in the town hall to get the facts." Brie cocked an eyebrow. "Really?" "Well, maybe I didn't exactly go down to town hall. Maybe it was more like a goggled at Drazel still." Lionel raised a pointed finger. I stand by every word I wrote. It's the truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help me." "Got it, little Mr. Dunny broke in. "None of us dubbits your journalistic engendry." "But Clara, the question you raised is important." Mr. D looked around at everyone in the room. "Don't believe everything you read or hear. If something doesn't sound true, maybe it isn't." Grace was waving her arm like crazy, so Mr. D called on her. "I don't think the class trip belonged on the front page," she said. "Well, thanks a bunch, Nala." "Well, thanks a bunch," Nala said. She had written the article. "It's not news," Grace said. "We all were there." Sacre bleu. Nancy shot a look at Brie. She knew Brie was thinking the same thing. For once they agreed with Grace. "I see your point," Mr. D said, "but a newspaper offers more than breaking news. It's also a record of events. That means it reports on what has already happened." Then Mr. D discussed and reasons for reading a newspaper. He bought up Bries' advice column, as well as a movie review by Robert, and Clara's recipe in cooking with Clara, Nancy's salad story. Alice went and mentioned, "I'm not showing my grandma the Gazette," Clara told Mr. D. "It's her biscuit recipe, and it's supposed to be a secret." The bell for recess rang. "Hold it," Mr. D made a stop motion with his hand on one last thing before you rush out. "You never know. There could be news right under your nose. So stay alert and be prepared to report on it. Bye."